I never expected my life to change so dramatically on a regular Tuesday evening in March 2020. My wife and I were playing board games with our kids when we heard knocking at the door. Opening it, I found two social workers standing there with a teenage girl who looked nervous and uncertain. The social workers asked to come in, and what they told me next turned my world upside down. The quiet teenager standing in my living room was apparently my biological daughter. They had DNA test results to prove it, and suddenly memories from my past started making sense. About 20 years ago, I had met someone at a college party. It was a one-time thing, and I never saw her again. What I didn't know was that she was married, and her husband had been raising my daughter thinking she was his own. Everything changed when my daughter received one of those DNA testing kits as a birthday present from a friend. Her mother's husband, the man who had raised her for 18 years, discovered the truth. The aftermath was brutal. He had a complete meltdown, saying horrible things to both my daughter and his wife during their divorce. He told my daughter he never wanted to see her again and that she meant nothing to him anymore. The social workers explained that her mother hadn't handled things well either. She'd fallen into depression, started using drugs, and became abusive. After a recent incident, Child Protective Services had to step in. Looking at this young girl who shared my DNA, I couldn't just turn her away. My wife and I welcomed her into our home, though we knew it wouldn't be easy. The first few weeks were awkward. She was quiet and kept to herself mostly. But our older son was thrilled to finally have a sister. He made it his mission to include her in everything. Our younger one, being so little, just accepted her as part of the family from day one. Over time, things started changing. She began joining us for family movie nights, helping with dinner, and slowly opening up about her life. I remember clearly when things really shifted. It was during Christmas 2021. We were all watching holiday movies together when she suddenly hugged me and called me dad for the first time. My wife started crying, and even our kids got emotional. I tried to play it cool, but honestly, it meant everything. Now she's in college, but still lives at home since a university is nearby. She's grown into an amazing young woman, and it feels like she's always been part of our family. Everything was going great until last week when I received a message that brought back all the old drama. Her former father, the man who had raised her and then rejected her, reached out to me through social media. His message was long, explaining how he had reacted out of pain when he discovered the truth and how he regretted pushing her away. He wanted my help to reconnect with her. This put me in a really tough spot. Just a few months ago, I had overheard her telling my son that she wanted nothing to do with her ex-father and that it had taken her a long time to heal from what he did. When I showed the message to my wife, she suggested ignoring it completely and moving on with our lives. But this situation isn't that simple. I know from our family therapy sessions how deeply this rejection affected her. The therapist helped us understand each other and adjust to our new family dynamic, but there were still some unresolved feelings about her past. I've been sitting on this message for days now, trying to figure out what to do. Should I tell her about it and risk bringing back painful memories? Should I respond to him myself? Or should I just delete it and pretend it never happened? My wife noticed I was distracted during dinner that evening. After the kids went to bed, I showed her screenshots of the message. The more we discussed it, the more complicated everything seemed. My daughter had built a new life with us. She was doing well in college, had good friends, and seemed genuinely happy. Did I have the right to potentially disrupt that? But then I remembered something important from our family therapy sessions. The therapist had emphasized how crucial honesty and open communication were in healing from trauma. My daughter had already experienced adults hiding things from her birth mother hiding the truth about her father, her former father hiding his feelings until he exploded. I realized I couldn't do the same thing to her. The next evening, after she returned from her part-time job at the campus library, I asked if we could talk. We sat in the kitchen, where we'd had so many late-night conversations over hot chocolate during her first months with us. I explained about the message, trying to be as straightforward as possible. Her reaction was intense. At first, she was angry, not at me, but at him. She demanded to see the message, her hands shaking as she read it. Then the anger crumbled, and she started crying. Through her tears, she told me things she'd never shared before. How she used to lie awake at night wondering if her former father ever thought about her. How she'd been terrified of trusting anyone after he rejected her, worried that everyone would eventually abandon her too. She hugged me tightly the way she did when she first started calling me Dad. I assured her that she didn't have to respond if she didn't want to, and that whatever she decided wouldn't change anything between us. She was my daughter, and that was permanent. She spent several days thinking about it. I could tell she was processing everything because she was quieter than usual at dinner and spent more time alone in her room. My wife brought her tea and just sat with her sometimes, not pushing her to talk. Even my younger kids seemed to sense something was up. My older son invited her to play video games more often than usual, and the little one kept bringing her his favorite stuffed animals to make her feel better. Finally, one morning before her classes, she told me she wanted to respond. She'd written everything down, she said, because she was worried she'd lose her nerve if she tried to say it directly. She asked if I would send it to him for her. The letter she wrote was clear and honest. She explained how his rejection had affected her, how it had taken years of therapy and support from her new family to feel secure again. She told him that while she understood he had been hurt by her mother's actions, his choice to abandon her had caused deep wounds that couldn't be easily fixed. She ended by saying she wasn't interested in rebuilding a relationship with him. She had found her real family, and she wanted to move forward with her life. I sent her message exactly as she wrote it, adding only a brief note to say that this was her genuine response and that I wouldn't be pressuring her either way. After sending it, I blocked his profile so he couldn't keep messaging me. My daughter seemed lighter after sending the letter, as if putting those feelings into words had helped her release something she'd been carrying for years. That evening, we had an impromptu family movie night. As we all squeezed onto the couch together, with my daughter tucked between her siblings fighting over the popcorn bowl, I realized how complete our family felt. Sometimes the best families aren't the ones we're born into, but the ones we build together through love and trust. Several people have asked me to explain more about how my daughter actually came to live with us, so I'll share those details. The legal process wasn't as straightforward as I might have made it sound. Her former father gave up his parental rights during the divorce, but he never actually removed his name from her birth certificate. That was just something he'd shouted during their last argument. Things with her birth mother got really bad toward the end. One night, the neighbors called the police after hearing shouting. That's when Child Protective Services got involved. Since my daughter was already looking for answers about her biological father, she suggested using her DNA test results to find me. She later told me she hadn't expected anything. She just wanted to know who I was. The social workers couldn't tell me everything about how they found me, but they did say my daughter had pushed for it. She'd been staying in temporary foster care while they tracked me down. I'm grateful every day that she took that chance. Life settled into a comfortable routine after sending that letter. My daughter threw herself into her studies with renewed energy. She's studying computer science and often helps her younger siblings with their math homework. It's amazing to watch her confidence grow. She's not the same shy teenager who showed up at our door that day. A lot of people have told me they think her former father will try to reach out again, maybe during summer break or in a few years. They say guilt doesn't go away easily, and he might make another attempt to contact her. But I made sure to close off that possibility by blocking him on all social media. He'd need to send a friend request first to message me again, which won't happen. My wife thinks we made the right choice in letting our daughter decide how to handle the situation. She pointed out that our daughter has grown so much since she first came to live with us. Back then, she would have probably just shut down if something like this happened. Now she was able to face it head-on and express her feelings clearly. The whole experience has taught me a lot about family. When those social workers showed up at my door, I had no idea how to be a father to a teenage daughter. I was worried about making mistakes or saying the wrong things. But we figured it out together, one day at a time. The therapy helped, both the individual sessions for my daughter and the family sessions for all of us. It gave us tools to communicate better and understand each other's perspectives. My younger kids don't remember a time when their sister wasn't part of our family. To them, she's just always been there, helping with homework, joining in pillow fights, and stealing the last cookie from the jar. My older son still brags to his friends about having the coolest big sister ever. Sometimes I look at old photos from before she came to live with us, and it feels strange to see our family without her in it. It's like there was always a space there waiting for her. We just didn't know it. She has my smile, something I never noticed until someone pointed it out at a family barbecue. The message from her former father did stir things up for a few days, but in the end, it helped us grow even closer as a family. My daughter knows now, without any doubt, that she has a home with us, not because of DNA or legal documents, but because of love and choice. She chose us just as much as we chose her. Looking back on that March evening when she first arrived, I realized life has a way of giving you exactly what you need, even if you didn't know you needed it. Our family might not look like what I imagined when I was younger, but it's better than anything I could have planned. As for my daughter, she's exactly where she belongs, even if it took an unexpected route to get here. She's talking about moving into a campus apartment next year to be more independent, but she still wants to come home for family dinner every Sunday. And that's exactly how it should be. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.